Hey guys, we're back at Arcade1up and we're going to talk specifically about NBA Jam. So for those of you that are getting caught up, the reason why this title is so exciting is that for one, it's NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and NBA Hang Time all on the same cabinet, but Wi-Fi enabled. So that's where it's really cool. So you'll be able to, let's say I have one of these cabinets and your friend has another cabinet somewhere else in the country, you can then play against that friend. And there's going to be supposedly things like leaderboards and all that. So that's pretty exciting. The basic price that this is going to be targeted at, it's supposed to be $399 as is. Now, you know, keep in mind at CES, all that stuff is always slated for changes, but that's at least, I think, what they're telling potential buyers, that that's the target price. So I wanted to get into a couple of unique things. So this one's actually running Scanline, so it's got a Scanline filter on it to kind of look like it did in the arcade, you know, when you had a standard CRT. So I'm going to break into the menu system really quick because, so we're going to get back really quick to the main menu. So to do that, you could just hold your player one button for a series of a couple seconds and it's going to bring you back to the main menu screen. So you can see right next to each title, there's a gearbox. If I go to that gearbox, it allows me to, this is really neat. So for those of you that are familiar with the traditional arcade version of this, a arcade operator could have went in and adjust dip switches to get to these settings. So this is actually something that they had to program in. So they had to actually create a new front end to the dip switches. So this is pretty cool. So some of the things that you can do is you can actually, you know, have computer assist enabled, so that actually helps you if you're kind of suck at the game. You can have sounds during the game, on or off, enabled or disabled, so we're going to enable that. Head sizes, so this was typically something that an arcade owner would have to adjust. This wasn't, you know, this wasn't something that you could do unless you knew the secret code. So there is a code you can punch in when you put your date of birth in there to actually you know, manipulate this, but they made it easy so you can just pick head size large. Drone difficulty is going to be how difficult do you want the computer to be when you're playing, so you can go extra easy, easy, normal, hard, or extra hard. Again, all dip switch settings that were in the original arcade board, so that's pretty cool that they went to that level of detail to actually put that stuff in, you know, in their version of the cabinet. That means they're actually, you know, going the extra mile. They could have kind of taken the easy approach. Game timer speed, so this was actually more of an arcade owner type thing too, like how long did they want people to be able to play? You know, if they wanted people to cycle through the cabinet quicker, they could have faster paced games. You may or may not want to do this, but for tournaments it might be kind of fun. Your country of origin, and then scan lines on and off. So this is one that people have been pretty excited about because traditionally Arcade1up, this is one thing that they have not done historically. They haven't put Scanline filters in. So I was talking to John D, who's the SVP for Arcade1up, and he was saying going forward they want to be able to offer this on any of the newer cabinets as an option. So that's pretty cool. So we're going to put scan lines on so you guys can see that, and then we're going to back out of this menu and then we'll launch the game really quick. But before I do that, I'll show you that NBA Jam Tournament Edition also has another you know, another menu just like this with its own options, which would have been dip switch settings for this game in its physical form, you know, the original PCB. So really, really cool that they actually went to this level of detail to do this. This means they probably got access to the source code of the game, so they had to like put that into the ROM. So that's actually really, really neat. To make that translation between the physical arcade board and then presenting it in a way that looks a lot more friendly than a dip switch setting would have in the traditional form. So again, you're going to have a bunch of different options for each game that you have. So I just want to let you know that this is available. I actually missed this the first time around. I don't know how I didn't see the gear, but when you pick the game, the gear is right next to it. So we'll actually go into the traditional NBA Jam, and then you'll see the scan lines and what they look like as far as the gameplay goes. So maybe Justin can zoom in a little bit on that, and you can see, you know, how that looks. And if you guys have any questions while this thing is booting up, we can certainly, you know, get into those things. And also, by the way, there are secret codes for this game, and supposedly from what I've heard, and I have seen a couple videos on this, they all actually work. So because they're running the traditional arcade ROM, all of those games do work. Now it's a changed version of that original ROM to meet their needs for online play, because as you guys know, there was no online play in obviously the traditional arcade game. So I'm gonna pick the Phoenix Suns only because I'm from Phoenix. And I loved Charles Barkley back in the day. He looks a lot thinner here than he does now, but I'm sure he probably looks at that and be like, man, that's kind of what I look like when I look back at my YouTube career so far. All right, let's do this. Oh, goaltending. All right. Oh, yeah, we'll get the music on. Actually, oh, come on. Yeah. All right, it's a close game, guys, close game. Seriously? Of course. It's so funny, guys, because whenever I play games for people, I'm usually terrible and I'm not doing very well. But there we go. I'm redeeming myself here. Okay, we're one point game. So you can let Justin know in the chat what else you want to see. But I was going to go through like each game real quick, briefly, so you guys could see it.
They said they want you to do an impression of Charles Barkley.
I actually don't know how to do an impression of Charles Barkley. I don't even know. Sorry, guys. But this does, you know, as far as the gameplay goes, like if I'm really, you know, being my truth, the truth of the matter is if you guys look at the channel, I actually built a NBA Jam cabinet, and I'd say it plays pretty much identical to how the one I built plays, and the one I built had the original board. So, you know, I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised. And then if you've watched the video of the frequently asked questions from, sorry, we're getting crowded by a lot of people here. But if you watch my video of frequently asked questions from earlier, they're about 90% on the having the player licensing rights. So that's pretty cool.
Now you have to switch to Cowboy Ralph.
Hey man, I think it's time to play a new game. So we're gonna hit and hold the player 1 button here. All right. We didn't have video games when I was back in the farm. We used to have we had an Atari 2600, and I used to play Pong with Glenn from Glenn's Retro Show, but other than that, I haven't really played a video game in a long time. But we're gonna play NBA Jam Tournament Edition really quick here. Do I have to be Cowboy RetroRalph?
No. So Greg asked about the screen resolution for these newer models. Do you think there's any...
All right, I'm gonna pass that one to Justin because he's the screen resolution master. So what do you think, Justin? You know,
so
you know the real deal.
John, so all these newer Gen 3 models are actually, they're 4x3. These BOE monitors are 17-inch 4x3, but that's potentially subject to change. It's all based on availability. So the availability of these monitors, they do have the 17-inch 4x3 at 960p. So there's no screen tearing, no stretching of pixels. And he even said if for some reason the availability for 4x3 goes away, they would do the 5x4 monitor, but they would just play with the bezel and then still have a true pixel. Their first generation didn't do that true pixel, but they're going forth. They're going to make sure that resolution is correct. So it looks great. It looks awesome, and honestly, in person, Scanlines are really fantastic. I hope it comes well.
So one thing I wanted to mention actually is that so the reason why I'm actually really excited about the way this looks, and the reason why original Midway PCBs are actually notorious for having major issues getting translated to an LCD screen, and the audio is actually really hard to get right too. So I've played with enough of these to really appreciate what they've done here. This is actually a very, very good implementation of this. This game is not an easy thing to port from an arcade board, so they're doing a really good job with this. So as you can see, we showed you one with Scanlines. This is without Scanlines, and again, it looks pretty good without Scanlines. You can zoom in a little bit if you want, Justin, and you can kind of get an idea. But I mean, it's all a matter of preference. You know, some people really love the Scanline look, which gives you that original look of how it was originally. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited. I think they did a very, very good job in the implementation of this. So I'm going to kick over one more game real quick. So I'm going to actually hold the start button down, or the player 1 button again. And I'm going to go back to the menu one more time. So I'm going to go to NBA Hang Time.
Yeah, Greg, so we were talking about, here's see how the scan lines at the bottom? They can be turned on and off.
Yeah, we're going to put the...
Did you have the scan lines turned on that last game?
I had it turned off.
Oh, okay. Well, let's turn it on.
Yeah, I had it turned on for the first game, and I didn't have it turned on for the second game.
Okay, so check it out. So someone asked what the scan lines are.
What they are?
Yeah, what are scan lines?
Why can't I get into this game? Hold on, real quick.
Hide the menu. There you go.
There, okay. Well, so original CRTs, how they worked is it would actually, would actually draw the signal, right? And so it drew them in like, you probably are better at describing this, but it drew them in lines, right? But there was like, there's like gaps in between. So what you end up with is like, as the tube is, what is the actual thing? I mean, I'm not really that good at explaining the technical aspects of a CRT. You're probably better off.
They're simulating the CRT. See those little black lines?
Like that would have been how it scanned the image originally on a CRT tube. So it's making it look like a traditional. You may be familiar with this because any TV you would have had growing up, if it was a tube television set, not LCD, it would have looked like that.
Right.
And the reason why that's cool is because actually, why it actually kind of makes sense is that, sorry, I'm just gonna put in whatever. Okay, the reason why that's interesting is it kind of brings back that nostalgia. Why can't I get past this? Hold on. All right, there we go. We can get that audio up a little bit for you guys too. So when we were talking to them earlier, they did say there were certain players that they couldn't actually get in contact with. So that was actually something that was restricting some of the licensing. So again, they're trying their best to get all of the characters licensed, but there are going to be some that are actually left out for right now, and they may even be left out when it goes to production, but they're going to try to get, if they can get contact with the player, get the rights to use their, their likeness or whatever, they can actually, use that, update feature, right? They can use Wi-Fi to actually update that, which is pretty cool. Oh! I don't know why we're not getting audio on this. Is there? Oh, it's really... Okay, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but here, I'm gonna actually, maybe Justin can move his... There we go. So, I mean, guys, you can see, we've got the scan lines enabled. I might have my hands off the controls a little bit, but you can kind of see the look is really nice. So why scan lines make sense for these older games is because I'm not playing right now. But you can see, like, some of the older style graphics are kind of blocky, right? But the scan line gives it like a crisper effect. And it's not that, it's just that on an LCD, some people don't like that blockiness. So if you want it to look less blocky and more like it originally looked, then that's when people will want to enable the scan line. So it just gives it more of an authentic look. Some don't care for it. So the cool thing is they give you the option to turn it on or off, which I think is awesome. So I'm gonna go back to the main menu one last time. I'm gonna show you those menu options again, and then we'll wrap this video up. But one of the cool things is that I didn't notice this originally, so I love that they've done this. So if you're just joining now, the reason why this is unique is because these were actually arcade PCB, so the original arcade board that this thing ran in originally. This is those options that an arcade operator could have used via dip switches. So that is like really, really cool stuff. And they do this for every single game. So you got it for NBA Hang Time, you got it for NBA Jam, and you have for tournament NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and you have it for the regular NBA Jam. So this is just attention to detail that really makes you appreciate what they've done here. So that's it. I mean, that's all I wanted to show you guys. I really wanted you to see that you can customize the heck out of this thing as far as the options go. And it's really neat that they actually, more likely than not, got the source code, so they were able to do things like this and create these fun menus. Proof of them actually going the extra mile is they've done the same thing with Star Wars. So, Justin, I can't remember the
so what we found out from John D is the same group of people that made the Star Wars cabinet, the emulation. It's called Code Mystic. This is the team that worked on NBA Jam, which makes sense because Star Wars was the first cabinet to add scan lines. Yeah. So they took that same technology and put it on NBA Jam.
Yeah, so it's really cool to think that they're not just doing, obviously when they started this thing, right, they were a smaller company trying to, feel out the appetite, in the marketplace for a product like this, and now they're going, look, we've built a market. We have a large customer base, and they're listening to the customer base as they're saying things like, yeah, we want it to be more arcade authentic, and they continue to do that. So, I mean, everything down to the artwork, to the, to having the scan lines enabled, to be able to tune it the way you would. Like, think about it. The only way you could get this experience of the actual arcade ROM would be either under emulation with MAME, right? Which you're not going to have the online capability that this does, or you'd have to go and buy the original PCB. And there's no possible way, I'm telling you, unless you used a CRT, to get it to look this good. I've bought many a Midway board, and they are not friendly when it comes to going from RGB to an LCD through a converter board. It just doesn't look good. So really happy with this implementation. Again, I'll repeat what they told me earlier. They're shooting for a $399 target price, but we'll see. That's subject to change just based on market conditions and things like that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this deeper dive and deeper look into NBA Jam. I'll give you my last final thoughts is that it plays really well. This is one of those things where I've had enough experience with this board to say, like, this is a 2 thumbs up cab. So if you're a fan of NBA Jam, you're probably gonna be pretty stoked when you get your hands on this thing. That's it for now, guys. We'll see you on the next one.